Dr. Z. Dr. Z, it is great to see you in person.
Yeah, how about that? What a year.
What a year it's been. This is the first time that we've done a podcast together in the same room. Season 1, we did about 25, 26 episodes. But in terms of doing a podcast in person, we did season 1 all remote via Zoom, and here we are finally in person together.
You know, JW, it seems normal, or it seemed normal until I'm here with you doing this, and I actually have a little bit of adrenaline.
Hi, everyone, and welcome back to the Dr. Z and J-Dub podcast, brought to you, as always, by Provenzano's Deli and the Charger Athletics Fund. Thank you for joining us across all of our social media channels. And as always, our podcast is available on iTunes, Spotify, and Google Play. J.W. Stewart, along with our UNH Athletic Director, Dr. Z, Cheyenne Zenger. And of course, as we start episode 2 of season 2, we look back to the football game this past Saturday, UNH with a 30-14 victory over Franklin Pierce. Z, I wanted to get your opinion and thoughts and feelings on what was it like to finally have football back here at Delacameron Stadium on Saturday?
J-Dub, really more than anything, it was just a lot of fun. And of course, I'm not a coach. Coach Pence is probably going, what the heck was that? Yeah, coaches don't have any fun on game, but just so you know. But I had a lot of fun. You know, just the seeing the guys out there and getting to do what coach and the players love to do once again after taking a year off was huge. The pageantry of college football, the way the stadium looked, you being the new voice of the Chargers, you know, the thing just kind of sparkled. And as coach calls it, you know, playing on the blue just has a certain again sparkle to it, and it just a special day.
Not just the blue, the new blue, right?
Yeah.
It was the first football game since we resurfaced the stadium a year ago.
Yeah, you know, you kind of forget that we've had it there for a year. The guys have been working out on it for over a year, but that's the first time that I think the public really got to take a look at it.
What did you think of the crowd and their interaction? Again, it's the first time for them being there in 2 years. What was the support like?
So I know people are just itching to get back, and it was obvious. I really thought post-pandemic, if we can say that, you know, that it would be kind of sparse. It was a good crowd, loud crowd. The band was in full force, and you know, we had a good contingent of our alumni back, and really, I couldn't have asked for anything more on opening day.
Yeah, it was a great way to get the season started. Again, not only with a victory, but I think a victory for life, and again, another step toward that return of normalcy. It felt normal on Saturday.
Yeah.
So we talked about the Charger Athletics Fund off the top, and if you make an annual gift of $500 or more to the Athletic Fund, it gives you access to the pregame VIP tent, the sideline VIP tent, and the postgame reception at the German Club. And Dr. Z, I know you had a chance to hit all of those.
Yeah.
So what was that experience like, not only for you, but the people who decided to participate and be part of the pregame, the game, and then the postgame festivities?
You know, probably the best way to describe that is, and I've been telling John Mays, who came with me the first month I arrived here several years ago, this is as good as it gets in college athletics. The experiences we're having, the things we're able to do. It reminds me of my time way back when at Illinois State as a young administrator. And, you know, you do a small thing and the needle moves. And really, all those things you talked about, those are the things that President Kaplan and others asked us to do several years ago, to try and provide certain experiences for students, for faculty, for staff, for alumni, the community. And each of those opportunities just felt really, really good that you're able to showcase this institution in all of those.
Football alums also have their own space. What do they got? Tell us about that.
You know, they get a tent over in the corner of the end zone. I guess that'd be the northeast corner of the end zone. And I try to make my way around the stadium during a game, and therefore I then watch the replay of the game later to see what really happened. But I get to spend the fourth quarter over there, and just there's a lot of good stories and lies being told and all the things you would expect.
Probably too. Yeah, let's bring in Chris Pincince, our football coach here at the University of New Haven. Coach is joining us from his office. Coach, how are you? Welcome to the Dr. Z and J-Dub podcast.
Thanks for having me back. Things are great, and I appreciate you guys being able to spend a couple minutes with us before we go out to practice.
Coach, what was it like for you? We'll talk X's and O's and strategy and all that stuff in a minute, but just as a standpoint as a fan, I know you're a coach first, but you're also a fan. From that standpoint, what was it like being there on Saturday? Did you allow yourself to kind of take everything in?
I think you have to. It's been, at that point, it was 637 days since the last time that we were able to play a football game and win a football game. And, you know, from the drive into the parking lot early in the morning when they got it roped off to our kids walking from the cafeteria and team meeting, you know, in their travel suits through the band parents and some early arrivers for tailgating. I think that everybody kind of looked around and saw you know, the entire atmosphere was outstanding. And I think that, it made us think that, maybe after 2 years of craziness that maybe we were headed.
How much sleep did you get the night
I
before?
don't sleep very much any night. So, absolutely nothing the night before. We had a team function, team meeting. We talked. We had some snacks, some pizza, some wings, and hung out together on Friday night. And I would venture to say that most of us didn't sleep very much, and we were up early, ready to go. I know I was talking to my quarterbacks early in the morning. So they were just exchanging texts and how we were ready to rock. And again, it was good to be around each other. We didn't see each other enough for the last 2 years, so it's good to get back together.
Having coached not nearly as much as Coach Pence has, but no game is far from perfect. So I know he has his list of things that he will correct between game one and an off week in game two. But from a bystander's point of view, your quarterbacks performed well, and your receivers, you've got a new guy there that was passing the ball around his head at one point, and really saw some exciting things. I say that with a caveat and the qualifier of there's a lot to improve. I know, Coach, but it is fun to watch what happened on the field Saturday.
Yeah, we had a lot of kids make a lot of big plays, and as Coach has said many times, we got a ton of things to improve on. There were so many new faces out there. We walked through our pregame routine one time during preseason camp, but there were still kids that didn't know how to walk to the field the way we do to take the field. There were still kids that didn't understand, what we do in pregame prior to the kickoff, or where to stand on game day, or where to be in the launch pad area for special teams. So we had 90% of our roster was brand new, had never experienced game day on the blue, and hopefully we're heading in the right direction 2 weeks from now when we play again.
Nerves from the players, could you tell that? Because the game itself, if there were nerves, they seemed to have masked them pretty well. There weren't a whole heck of a lot of mistakes, at least not in the early going with like offsides or late hits or anything like that. What were there any nerves from the student athletes?
Yeah, you know what, we did we did a great job of taking care of the little things. We didn't have the wrong personnel on the field very much. We didn't snap a ball when we weren't supposed to. We didn't as a defense leave somebody completely uncovered out there. And those are things that after not playing a game for 2 years, you certainly worry about. And we addressed it, but the kids did a wonderful job of locking in. We kind of tailored down what we did offensively and defensively and special teams wise because of that. But we also played a ton of kids and a two deep on both sides, and kids that had never played college football before. In some cases, particularly my quarterback and my wide receiver that had big days, they had never played for us before. And so the expectations that we have are to be perfect, but they really did carry themselves probably above what we thought we were going to get in game one from the little things standpoint.
J-Dub, I think you talked to the opposing coach, and we're starting to hear this from other folks, and I've been here long enough to kind of appreciate it and understand it now. And the coach always calls it playing on the blue, but I wouldn't like to be an opponent to come in here on the blue. Between the color of the turf, the band, the crowd, there's an energy down there that you don't find throughout our league and our region, for that matter, in many places.
I would put our game day experience, obviously top of the list in our league, hands down, bar none. But if you travel to one of the smaller FCSs and go watch them play, our game day is better. Our band is better. The people that are around it are better. We're closer to the field, from a fan standpoint. They experience it. Couple that with the webcast of it and the radio attached to it and all those things, and you'd be hard pressed to find a better football experience in the state of Connecticut, I'm sure.
Coach, you mentioned the quarterbacks a moment ago, right? It all begins and ends with the quarterback. You had a decision to make. We were going to have a new quarterback regardless. It was Connor Dagenhart or Zoltan Panye. How did you make that decision of who to start in game one?
I thought because of his experience in the last 2 years up at Holy Cross, I thought Connor would give us the kind of steadier force, when things didn't go particularly right. He's got a lot of game experience up there playing in the Patriot League, playing in the national playoffs. So I thought that, even though he's still learning the offense as Zoltan is as well, I thought he would be able to kind of steady us a little bit if things went rocky. Physically, he's a very gifted young man, big kid, strong arm, runs around well enough. So I thought that physically both him and Zoltan are fairly similar from that respect. Zoltan's probably a little bit better of an athlete running. But I just, honest to God, at the end of the day, I thought he has seen more football than Zoltan, and I thought that would help us out here in game one.
News to them, and how did they take it?
I told Zoltan what we were looking for. I expect him to still prepare as the starter. He's fine with it. Probably not happy, but he's fine with it. He's a good kid, great kid. Understands his role here right now. And I never actually told Connor that he was the starter. I just kind of kept giving him more reps as the number one guy, and I assumed he figured it out. He's got a Holy Cross degree, and I assumed he figured it out eventually when he took 95% of the reps there during game week.
Yeah, well, the decision to go with Connor certainly paid off. More than 300 yards passing, threw for 3 scores, ran for 1. Zoltan did get in to rush for a first down at one point in the third quarter as well. Plans here. But let's switch gears and talk about Shamar Logan. 2 years ago, NE10 Rookie of the Year, right? 1,000-yard season, 1,000 yards on the nose. He picked up right where he left off with a 100-yard game. Your thoughts on how he performed on Saturday?
Well, I thought he did well in given the limited opportunities that he had. I think he's obviously explosive. He took a couple around the edge and was able to run with it. He's got a ton of improvement to make to take that next step. He's still a very, very young person. Even though he's, entering his 4th year of college right now, he's still really young from an experience standpoint. He came in as a redshirted as a freshman, played as a backup as that in his redshirt freshman year. Chris Religio was really our starter. Shamar rushed for 1,000 yards as the backup running back. Then we had a year off, and now we're back again. And so he's still a young kid. And as much as we look at him as somebody that, has been here and done it at a high level, he's almost back to square one from an experience standpoint. You can't practice the way that you do in games. You can't have that kind of speed. You can't block the way you're going to block. He cut blocked at least 3 times in the game. He hasn't thrown a cut block in pass protection since November of 2019 because we don't want to hurt our own defensive players. So all those things are new to him as well, just as they are a lot of the guys. He'll get better. He almost rushed for 100 yards, had a catch, all those things. He'll get better, though, as he gets on. He'll get back into game shape, and we expect big things from him. But I hope that's not the best of what we see as Shamar Logan all year.
Coach, let's talk about Dev Holmes, and not only Dev, but the rest of that receiving core and what they contributed on Saturday.
You know what? The first thing that stands out is what absolutely nobody will understand is all 6 of those guys that played in the football game are willing to block in the run game. They're willing to play any position. They're willing to be extremely selfless. Maybe the happiest person on the field was Brett Huber, our senior captain, and he had 2 catches. So I think they're an incredible group of guys that could probably, play in any offense in this conference and be frontline starters in this conference. And I think that's what stood out to me watching the film was their energy and their ability to not always be 100% in the blocking, but wanting to block down the football field for other people. I think that was great. We made some plays in the pass game. Obviously, Dev stood out because he caught a couple of touchdowns down the football field. And certainly you saw why we invested in him in graduate school and why he's here. He could be a frontline player in this conference. He's got to improve as well. When he watched the film there with us over the last 2 days, I think he saw where he could maybe had another 8 to 10 plays where he could have affected the game. And so that was important for us. Being an off week this week, we were able to spend 2 full days on the film with these guys and really educate them on how we could have been better on Saturday. And Dev and the rest of the wide receivers, we'll see in about 45 minutes when we go out to practice, but I think they're going to take advantage.
The other guy that Dr. Z alludes to is Corey Millhouse, who is a receiver, at least on the roster, but he's really being used as a kick returner. Please tell us and everyone watching and listening the unique story about Corey Millhouse.
Well, Corey we've known for a long time. He actually lives in the same place where I live in North Haven, Connecticut. He went to Hamden Hall High School, coming out of high school, played some football, but really he was a lacrosse guy. Originally committed to Brown University coming out of high school. The Brown coach left. He went to the University of Virginia, so Corey followed him for his freshman year. He then transferred to Loyola University, where he spent the next couple of years. And now we got him back here. He got an itch to play football again. He's still learning. He hasn't played football actively in 4 years now, and so he can run. He can really run. Those are his 3 first kick returns of his life. The only 3 college football plays he's got right now are on those 3 kick returns. He'll get better. He'll watch the film and he'll learn where he should have ran, where he should have hit it. But in preseason camp, he did some real special things in the return game, kick return wise. And actually on Sunday in the JV game, he had about 4 catches for about 180 yards as a wide receiver and scored 2 touchdowns in our JV game. So he's learned how to play receiver. Eventually he'll do a little bit of that for us too once he figures everything out. But just like the rest of these guys, there's a lot of room for growth, and Corey's one of those guys. There's actually like four or five now North Haven guys where I live and where, that I've known for a long time. They went to school with my son. They played sports with my sons, and we're a little bit unique here at the University of New Haven. We're taking lacrosse guys and Division III guys and Division FBS guys, and we're molding them together here, try to do the best that we can.
Something there I don't want to let slip here, J-Dub. A phrase I never thought I'd utter the rest of my career. Kind of reaches back to the past, and we brought it back here. It was Coach's idea, and let's ask him about junior varsity football.
At least four. We're actually getting some more phone calls now trying to play us. Now that people know that we're playing, but we have at least 4 JV games that are scheduled that we're going to play on Sundays here. And the environment 2 days ago for our Sunday JV game, to be quite honest with you, is better than about 2 of the opponents that we're going to go play on Saturday in a varsity game. We had over 300, 400 people here on Sunday to watch, and more than half of those were our parents, our local families come to watch. We brought in 4 prep schools here over the fall to play us, and we're going to use it for recruiting. This last Sunday, we played St. Thomas More, who one of our game day captains, Sean Taff, is a graduate of St. Thomas More Prep School, so we got one of them. And this weekend, we got Bridgeton Academy coming in here on Sunday, where Rick Marceller is a mid-'80s. I won't give the year. I don't want to be too old. He's a mid-'80s grad of the University of New Haven. He's the head coach of Bridgeton Academy, and we currently have 6 of our current players, including Zoltan Panya, that is our Bridgeton Academy grad. So then we got East Coast Prep coming in a few weeks, and we have 2 of their graduates on our team, and we end up finishing up with a New Jersey prep school, the Jersey Gators. So we're using it recruiting, showing them the campus, showing them the blue turf. We're evaluating our guys too as well. And there's way too many of our guys that have not played enough football over the last 2 years. And some of our kids haven't played enough football even since they've been here. Our Casey Hazard started his first football game for us on the varsity level on Saturday at wide receiver, had a catch, had a big play. He's a junior in college, has 63 credits towards his degree, and he hasn't played football yet in college. He redshirted as a true freshman. He had the COVID redshirt year. So we look at him as one of those old guys, but in the first quarter on Saturday, that was the first time he played football in 3 years. And so we have too many of those guys. So we thought JV would be a great way to play, gaining some experience, college experience, and also a way for us to recruit and continue to bring great student athletes into our program.
Coach, we've talked a lot about the offense. Your thoughts on how the defense played on Saturday?
They played hard. We struggled in a lot of the areas that we knew we were going to struggle in. Number one, conditioning wise, we're not able in preseason to ever emulate or simulate, what game day is like. And so that first game of the season, you're going to get the cramps. You're going to get guys that are tired. And that's why we went into it playing a 2 deep worth on offense and defense, because we knew that we're going to face some of those issues. And then from a defensive standpoint, our tackling was a problem on Saturday, but we only practiced 4 times live in the last 2 years where they were tackling people to the ground. And so, as the great Bill Belichick said at the beginning of his preseason camp, when they practiced in helmets for the first 5 days, you can't get better at playing football unless you're playing football. And the only way to truly play our sport is full pads, tackle to the ground, live, cutting, all those things. And, so our defense will get better. Our defense will certainly improve as we move forward here. But I thought from an energy standpoint, from an assignment standpoint, we were pretty sound, and we got a lot of room to grow. But, heck, we only had 3 returning starters on the defensive side of the football. So to go do that right there, that was pretty impressive by some of our guys.
This is the Dr. Z and J-Dub podcast brought to you by Provenzano's Deli and the Charger Athletics Fund. Our guest today is our football coach, Chris Pincince, or Coach Pince, as everyone calls him, or Coach P, as Dr. Z calls him. So, Coach, you have the 2 years in between games. You come back and you play a game, and then you got a bye week. You have an early bye week, week 2. Your thoughts on having a bye week this early, especially considering that, first game in 657 days?
I thought it was great, actually. A lot of us want to get back into play, but to be honest with you, our kids are probably more sore over these 2 days than normal because, like I said, this is the first time some of those guys have been tackled in 2 years, or at least tackled multiple times on a given day. And so our kids got to work through some conditioning stuff right now. We're going to lift an extra day this week as we move forward. We're just practicing in helmets today so we can work a little conditioning and tempo and speed out there. And then we'll work in pads on Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday before we practice one final time this week on Saturday morning. So we're looking at it as definite positive. We were able to play that JV game as well to give a few of the guys that played on Saturday more reps on Sunday. So we're going to use this week to improve ourselves from a conditioning body standpoint. And then we play another JV game this Sunday before we finally get going again against Bowie, 2 Saturdays from now.
So, yeah, once this bye week is gone, then it's every Saturday from here through November. You mentioned Bowie State. What do we know about them?
I know they're very, very good. They have not lost a Division II football game in the regular season in a long, long time. So last time they played was 2019 as well. They were 10-0 at the time, national playoff team. They lost to Delaware State and FCS team over the weekend in one of those crazy games that you would expect after not having played football in 2 years with blocked punts and penalties and fumbles and all that stuff. So they play Saginaw Valley, a national program at their place this weekend. So Bowie's very, very talented, especially on the defensive side of the ball up front, and then their quarterback is outstanding. So it'd be a heck of a challenge for us. It's definitely a step up in level of play, and it seems like the only teams that'll play us in non-league games are national Final Four, Final Eight playoff teams. And so we're just lucky that Bowie's got some class and some character, and they're willing to come here and play us one time before we go down there and play them next year. Most of those PSAC guys won't come here and play.
But I'd really just put it back to you. Your thoughts on going out the rest of the season, and anything you want to share with the crowd?
Well, you know what, we're bringing in so many new faces from a student athlete standpoint. Obviously our roster increased, and the thing that there'll be an article coming out this week that I wanted to stress out there is we have 27 graduate students on our football program. Some are graduate transfers from the University of Buffalo and Holy Cross and Albany, and those guys that we've been speaking of, or Lehigh, like Jason Dooling had 2 sacks on Saturday. He was from Lehigh University. So we got the graduate transfers, but we got almost 20 kids that have a University of New Haven undergraduate degree right now and came back to grad school to get their master's degree. And obviously from an experience level standpoint, they might not have it on the football field right now for us, but from a mature standpoint, having life figured out standpoint, we haven't had to chase them around and that stuff. And having 27 grad kids is certainly a great statement on what our grad school programs are like here, the way we can attract student athletes. But the maturity level of our kids, I think, is certainly going to show this fall. A lot of new faces. There are going to be a lot of ups and downs. We're trying to indoctrinate a lot of new people into what we're doing right now. But I'm hoping that, the fact that we brought in these older guys and these other older guys have committed to being here with us, that, when some of those negative things happen, hopefully those guys can pull our younger people through. We have 100 guys in the program with 4 years of football eligibility left as well. So we got both spectrums taken care of here right now. We got the older guys that have been around a bit, but we got some younger guys with big eyes and not having any idea, of what they're doing, just kind of running around aimlessly. So we're definitely bringing people together here at the University of New Haven, different cultures, different personalities, different lifestyles. And, our team is certainly indicative of the rest of the world out there, that different faces, different backgrounds, and we're excited to have every single one of our guys here.
27 grad students, by the way, the second highest total in all of Division II.
Wow.
So kudos to Coach Pince and the rest of his coaches for recruiting them, getting them in here. Coach Pince, great to talk to you. Thanks for joining us here on the Dr. Z and J-Dub podcast, and we'll see you in a couple of weeks for the Bowie State game.
Well, I appreciate you having me. I appreciate you letting us sell our program and our kids and all the great things that we're doing here.
All right. This is the Dr. Z and J-Dub podcast brought to you by Provenzano's Deli and the Charger Athletics Fund. Again, for an annual gift of $500 or more to the Athletics Fund, gives you some prime access to the pregame VIP tent, the sideline VIP tent, and the postgame reception at the German Club. If the food's good, Dr. Z will be there. I'm betting. Absolutely. And in that spirit, we have a new segment on the podcast this season, the Charger Student Athlete Spotlight of the Week. We have 2 student athletes we want to spotlight here. Paige Davis, the NE10 Women's Goalkeeper of the Week, and Macy Brown, the NE10 Rookie of the Week for women's volleyball. So again, we spent a lot of time talking about football today, of course, with football being back. Of course, that's a big deal. But it's a big deal that all the fall sports are back because we didn't have them last year. You've been around campus this past week watching games. What stood out to you? Where have you gone? What have you seen?
As you talk about those two young women, I haven't gotten to see volleyball yet. We haven't had a home game yet. Have gotten to see two women's soccer games, and our goalkeeper is as good as any you're going to find out there. We're lucky to have her. What stood out to me was just, again, the pageantry of every game and the student athlete support for each of the teams. And I could talk about all of our field hockey team played two highly ranked opponents back to back. And, they were a fledgling program not so long ago. They looked the part. But what really stood out yesterday afternoon at 1:00 on Labor Day, we had our inaugural women's rugby. And most of the administration was there watching it. We didn't know what we were seeing, what to expect. There's rules that I'm still asking our coach about. She started off her career, Emily Record did at 2-0. Not many people do that. So we might have hired a decent coach there.
Yeah.
Kudos to Emily.
Yeah.
But
thanks to Paige Davis, the women's soccer team is 2-0, and the men's soccer team a double overtime victory. So Coach Q and his guys off to a good start.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm anxious to get to see them. Haven't got to see them either. And Coach Quinn is certainly a strong coach, and I'm anxious to see the product he's got out there. We've asked him to rebuild something, and I think he's on his way.
We hope to have all the coaches on the podcast again this fall, especially with all of them being back playing. And things are off to a great start here at the University of New Haven. Well, for Dr. Z, I'm J-Dub. We appreciate you watching and listening, depending on how you're consuming the podcast. Again, you can always check us out on our social media channels. The podcast is always available on iTunes, Spotify, and Google Play. We thank Provenzano's Deli for their sponsorship. We encourage everyone to donate to the Charger Athletics Fund as well. We'll be back next week with a brand new episode. For our executive producer, John Mays, for producer Broccoli Rob Thompson, we thank Coach Pincince again. For Dr. Z, I'm J-Dub. Thanks for tuning in. See you next time. Coach, can any of your players keep up with you, or can you outrun all of them?
I can outrun all of them. So I like to tell them, I only move one speed, whether that's a 40-yard dash, a 100-yard dash, or whether it's a mile. I'm still moving the same speed.